Hello, beautiful souls. Welcome to the channel. If you're new here, my name is Infinity, and this is Magnetize Yourself, where we talk about life, love, spirituality, and of course, the law of attraction. In today's video, we are doing a reading and energy update for our beautiful collective here on YouTube. So thank you so much for tuning in today. Thank you for being present here. And of course, for sharing your beautiful, powerful energy here with the channel. I hope you're all doing really well. I would love to hear from you in the comments if you do feel guided to share anything with our virtual community on YouTube. One of the aspects that I love most about this channel that we are co-creating is that we're all able to connect and have a sense of community and mutual support here. So thank you for all of you who write inspiring comments in the comments section or share about what's happening in your own life, what you're up to, how you've been feeling, what you've been creating, because it really helps others to feel less alone. But even if you are someone who doesn't necessarily comment and you are just a silent listener, know that your energy is still really a gift to this channel and that you are powerfully influencing all of the messages that come through and the way that this space evolves. Because especially if you've been here for a while, you would know this, but we really have evolved here a lot over the months and years. So thank you for being along with me for this journey. And I'm going to go ahead and start by shuffling the traditional tarot cards. So I don't know exactly where this reading is going to go, but I did want to share with you that last night I had some very interesting astral travel experiences. And I know that many of you have these as well, where essentially it's like a dream, except it's much more realistic. And you have the sense in these experiences that what you are dreaming actually has a lot of real feeling and emotion attached to it. And when you meet and interact with people in the astral space, often, as opposed to just unconscious dreaming, you are actually interacting with other consciousnesses, whether it's other souls who are currently incarnated on Earth who are also in the astral, or whether you are interacting with people who have passed on, your ancestors, people who have come before you, spirit guides. So all of this can occur in that astral space. And last night in my astral travels, I was in some kind of room that felt sort of like a library. And I was sitting at this wooden table, and there was a woman sitting across from me. And I saw the words flash in my mind's eye, "Your original timeline." And I realized like something clicked in my brain, and I realized, wait a second, we as a collective are coming back to our original timeline, the timeline that corresponds with our core frequency, meaning with who we are beneath all of the levels and layers of programming, beneath all of the limiting belief systems and ideas that we picked up along the way. So I knew instantly in that moment that I was going to be creating a reading the next day, which is today, where I discussed this concept of your original timeline. But the interesting thing is, sitting across from me at this table as this was happening was this woman. And I was so excited about this idea that I started trying to share with her this concept. And I started telling her about how this is the timeline that we align with when we peel back all of these layers. And I started describing all of the quantum mechanics of this to the best of my ability to this person. But she was looking at me like I was crazy, and like her eyes were kind of glossed over, and she wasn't really comprehending anything that I was saying. And I forget exactly how she responded, but essentially she was very dismissive. But I remembered thinking in the dream, well, the collective here on YouTube will get it. those who are tuned in with this channel will know exactly what I'm talking about. And anyway, it was an interesting dream, but I also feel that this speaks to a theme that we've been describing through some of these recent readings where, well, I actually made an Instagram post about this, and I will read that as well because it feels relevant. But we've been talking about how when you are on a very different vibrational frequency from another person, no matter how many words you use to try to explain yourself or something you are thinking about or an idea, they aren't going to be able to hear you. They're not going to be able to understand you. And it's not because you aren't using the correct words to describe your concept. Just like in the dream, it's funny because when I was describing this, I was like, wait a second. Yes, that's what it is. I feel like I'm describing this correctly. And I was excited about it. But then I got this strange response from this person who had no idea what I was talking about. And I feel that's something you might experience or have experienced recently in your personal life where you feel like you're onto this really powerful idea. Maybe it's something that you want to do or create in your life, or maybe it's a concept that just suddenly clicks into place for you. But then when you go to try and share it with someone else who may not be on your same level of vibration, they might look at you like you're crazy or like your idea doesn't make sense, even though it makes complete sense to you. And by the way, would make sense to those who are on your frequency. I'm hearing that's just your wrong audience. That's not your audience. Or if it's a business idea, that's not your customer base. Those aren't the ones who are meant to be receiving whatever it is that you are creating, whether it's an idea or an art form or whatever this is for you. And yet that doesn't make your idea any less brilliant or powerful or any less of a breakthrough. So don't be discouraged if you don't necessarily get the reaction from other people that you are expecting when you go to share with them some kind of idea that you've been cooking up in your own mind, that you've been thinking about, that you've been working on. It doesn't mean that your idea is somehow not brilliant or not worthy just because someone else can't fully see the vision or understand it or relate to it. It just means the person you're sharing it with isn't on your frequency. They're not in the bandwidth to be able to even comprehend the idea that you are describing. So yeah, I guess that's a perfect starting place for this reading. Let me know, by the way, in the comments if you've had any interesting dreams lately, because I would definitely love to hear from you about that. So, wow, there is actually so much that I want to talk about with you guys because I don't know how much of this I should put in this particular reading because I was planning on saving a lot of these concepts for other readings, like my mini readings that I do. There's just been so much information that's been coming through, and that's kind of why I've taken some extra time and space recently to integrate all of this. I've spent a lot of time just sitting with myself in meditation and journaling and processing so much of what I've been sensing that I've personally experienced, but also that I've been sensing within the collective. And I feel ready to share a lot of these ideas in a more concrete way, whether it's in this reading video or in other videos like the mini readings that I do. So do subscribe and stay tuned here on the channel for more of that kind of content. Oh, but before I forget, I do want to share with you the Instagram post that I mentioned earlier. So yeah, this is exactly in line with what we're talking about here. And the post says, as the vibrational split between dimensions continues, you may notice it takes more effort to translate your truth into language others can hear. The more fluent you become in frequency, the more foreign human noise may begin to sound. This isn't superiority, it's circuitry. Old pathways of people-pleasing, over-explaining, and shape-shifting will glitch and break down, not because you're failing, but because your system no longer permits the dilution. What once felt like connection may now feel like static, and that's okay. Silence, solitude, and recalibration are not isolation. They are sacred. You're not losing your voice. You're learning to speak in vibration. So I just wanted to share that with all of you. I have been posting quite a bit more on Instagram and I've been loving it, especially sharing these text posts. So if you enjoyed that one and you have an Instagram, be sure to follow me there as well. And my Instagram is at Magnetize Yourself, but I also will leave a direct link to it in the description box of this video. So, okay. I'm going to keep this reading more centered around whatever messages want to come through in the cards. I'll let the energy kind of guide the reading, and then I'll see if any of the concepts I've been personally channeling into on my own time come up in this reading, and if so, we'll go deeper into them. If not, I'll put those in separate reading videos here on the channel outside of this collective reading. So what can I channel here? What does this collective need to know? We have the Two of Pentacles in the reverse position. Okay, so there may be someone here feeling as though they are juggling many different things. And it may feel a little bit chaotic, is what I'm picking up on. You may feel as though I'm hearing there's so much energy that wants to pour through you, or ideas that want to come through you, so much that you want to do or create, and yet it's almost like you don't feel like you have fully yet like the time or the space or the resources to fully put those ideas into creation, or to fully take that energy and make something material out of it. And I keep getting something around sleeping and resting. So part of why you may be feeling as though you don't have this time or energy to do all of this like channeling or creating that a part of you really desires to do is because your body has been calling you to deeper levels of rest and relaxation. And know that that is actually a very important part of the creative process, because you are not just creating in the times that you are picking up a paintbrush or putting pen to paper or going to type something on your computer or whatever it is that you do. That's actually the byproduct. It's like you putting into physical form what has already been created energetically within you. It's really like the end result, like the actual process of creation physically is only a small percentage of the creative process, because most of that process for you is happening within your body, within your energetic field. It's happening subconsciously. That's why if you're a creative type, you'll notice that you might just suddenly get this burst of inspiration to write or to create something, and then it happens all at once, but you didn't actually create it all at once. You created it gradually. You grew it like within your own energy field over the course of time. And the only way you were able to grow those creations was through giving yourself the rest and the nourishment that you need, because your body itself is a literal portal of creation and has to be cared for as such. So I feel like you are beginning to recognize that your physical body and your energetic field are literally like this portal of creation for the cosmos, that whenever you bring something into creation, it's like happening through you like a vessel, and that you have to care for your vessel in certain ways. And you have to actually give yourself a higher degree of care than many people are not going to be able to understand. People who are not using themselves as this creative channel or this creative vessel will not necessarily understand why you need certain things to nourish yourself, or why you need perhaps at times more rest or more flexibility or more softness or ease than other people may desire or require for themselves, who aren't involved with so much, I want to say like channeling of energy, because I feel that whatever it is that you are doing or creating or about in this world, you are channeling energy, because you are opening yourself up in a way that allows you to birth something into material form through yourself, through your mind, through your body, through your energy. And so much of that process is happening beneath the radar of the conscious mind. But I feel like intuitively you've been giving yourself that rest and that time to allow yourself to like nourish the vessel of creation, so to speak. And yet a part of you may be feeling imbalanced because you feel like you're kind of charging up or storing up all this creative energy or really resting and integrating right now because it's what you've been called to do, but you also are on fire for whatever it is you want to create. It's like you have all of this passion that you know wants to express itself, but you also know you have to be fully like rested and supported and resourced and cared for to be the vessel for whatever it is you are passionately creating or going to be creating. You recognize that there is a higher divine timing at play here. And I'm also picking up that if you were to rush this process, to ignore caring for your own vessel of creation, if you were to kind of just push out a bunch of like creative work or, whatever this is for you, work in general, you know that you could like get that initial output in like a high initially. Maybe you'd see a temporary increase in like what you consider to be success or numbers or growth. But it tends to bottom out whenever you do that because while you are seeing those like initial results, you're not tending to the actual portal or vessel of creation, which is you, which is your energy, which is your body, which is your emotional field. And so you've learned to care for and tend to the foundation because you can only grow as high as your roots go deep. So you're putting down those roots, you're developing a sense of stability within yourself through that growth internally, through that nourishment internally that is then allowing you to grow higher, so to speak, over the course of time. But again, this isn't something that can be forced. There is a rhythm to things, just like that tree has its own rhythm in nature. And I feel that you are reaching this place in your like spiritual evolutionary process where you are really honoring your soul's schedule over your mind's timeline. In fact, I feel you've released any kind of form of timeline from the mental level, from the mind, because you recognize that your soul has its own timing. Yes, you put the visions out there, you envision into the future, you desire certain things, you create maybe like goals for yourself or visions or things that you desire to attract. But you also recognize that there is a divine timing at play in your life. And that is something that's so strongly been coming up through really recent days as I've been processing so much of the energy we've been feeling for the past few weeks. And one thing that's been coming through so strongly is this sense more consciously of the divine timing of our lives. And what I've been thinking a lot about is how sometimes you can really, really desire something to happen and get almost like restless because your soul knows that this is on your timeline. Your soul knows this is part of your destiny. It's part of your path. It's part of your purpose. And so we can get that feeling of restlessness because we're very intuitive and we can sense that not only does a future timeline exist where we've attained whatever that is, it's like we can see that so clearly because we're so intuitive, but also we have a sense that that is part of our destiny and purpose here on earth, that through doing or creating or being whatever that is, we are actually leaving our mark on the planet in a positive way. And so that sense of urgency and restlessness is natural. But I feel that you can also look back on the course of your life and see that while you've always had that soul restlessness, even likely from a young age, there's always been this like guiding force in your life when it comes to timing. And you've most likely noticed that there were times in your life where like you desperately wanted certain things to happen, maybe even things that have now actually happened in your life or that you're working towards or seeing take place now. But in the past, you may have desperately wanted these things, but it's almost like the divine was saying, no, it's not time yet. Not a flat out no, but it's not time yet. You're still growing here. You're still evolving here. Focus on what this phase of your life is going to teach you and how it's going to grow you into the person that will then be ready to receive the manifestation of whatever it is that you desire. And so you went through those phases where you had this intense restlessness, almost like a sense of urgency to become who you knew deep down you were destined to become, but you were also kind of caught in this like soul training ground, so to speak, like a space where you were being trained, you were being prepared to become really the person that you are now. Because what I'm seeing is those phases of preparation, I have to say, like, you've gone through many of those preparation phases. Like, you're now in an era where things are beginning to open up for you in a new way because you allowed that process of growth and transformation through those training periods of your life. Even though you felt the restlessness, you felt the urgency, and you always held the vision for what you desired to happen one day or the dreams you desired to manifest, but you also allowed yourself to undergo those training exercises. You put in the work internally and spiritually to become the person that would be confident and self-assured and stable enough to now manifest all of those dreams that you once so desperately desired. And yet I see that this phase of your life within itself, it does come with its own preparation as well, because there's always some kind of higher level that we are preparing for, in a sense. And then we're manifesting more of the things we wanted before, and then we're sent into more training and preparation phases, so to speak. But what I'm getting is, you may be feeling this same way now about certain things in your life where some things have happened or manifested you've waited a long time for, but there are other things that still feel stuck to you or feel inaccessible. It's not that they are inaccessible or stuck. It's that just like before you were being prepared for things that you're manifesting now or doing now you are being still trained and prepared and grown into an even higher version of yourself that can manifest the things that you are envisioning now, because nothing is off limits for you. Everything is accessible. But whenever you decide and say to the universe, okay, this is what I want to manifest, the universe says, okay, yes, but first you're going to become the person that you need to become in order to manifest whatever it is that you are desiring. And I feel like you are someone who has always dreamt to the stars. You've always had these grand dreams and visions. And that's also why you've gone through so much intensity in your life, because when you decided you wanted to live a big life, you wanted to create in a big way, you had these grand dreams and visions, the universe said, okay, that's going to happen for you. That is your destiny, but you have to be trained to become the kind of person that can sustain that level of success or connection or wealth or happiness or fulfillment or purpose or whatever this is for you. And of course, we all define those things differently for ourselves. So you can define that however it feels good and right and aligned for you. But anyway, I feel like there were just a lot of messages coming up around that the last couple days. So I wanted to share all of that here with you. But if you're feeling a little unbalanced, like, wow, I have all of these ideas or these things I want to do or create, but I feel like I'm being pushed to rest or to care for myself or to slow down a bit, listen to that inner guidance system that is guiding you to rest as needed, to care for yourself when you need to in essence, mentally and emotionally and physically prepare yourself to sustain long-term success, to sustain like the long-term growth and continuation of like whatever empire you are building for yourself. Because I get that so much of this is about sustainability for you, meaning your soul has determined in this life not just to manifest things very quickly, but to manifest things that are built to last. And so don't get discouraged if you see people around you having quick success or seeming to like have these sudden highs of like hitting certain milestones very quickly, or seeing these sudden, like quick successes, because I get that sometimes it can be discouraging or it can feel like you yourself are lost or stuck, but recognize that your soul has its own timing here because they are on their own path, but your path is meant to be extremely sustainable and also foundational, built on a very strong, sturdy foundation. And if you had manifested the things that you had desired years ago instantaneously, you wouldn't have had the roots put down to be able to sustain that level of growth long term. So it's almost like you're building this whole like integrative system or like ecosystem of success or soul fulfillment or happiness in your life that includes all aspects and areas of your life, including your physical health, your mental health, your sense of community, connections in your life, your level of happiness, your level of fulfillment, although I feel like I already said that, but that's coming up multiple times because that's so important, that level of soul fulfillment that you are meant to experience continuously in this life. And all of that is being taken into account in this underlying soul timing that is playing out in your life that sometimes seems somewhat slow to your human mind, but is perfect according to your spirit, according to the soul. So trust that timing, trust that rhythm within you, because I know that if this reading has connected with you so far, you are someone who's become very attuned to that inner rhythm, to that timing within yourself. So let's go ahead and reshuffle. I know that that was kind of a lot of information coming out there, but first I'm going to take a sip of my sparkling water. I have some bubbly here. It's the strawberry flavor. So of course, let me know what you are eating or drinking during this reading if you have any kind of a comforting food or beverage. Okay, so what else can I channel for our beautiful collective here on YouTube? Okay, we have the Eight of Wands in the reverse position. Yeah, this is about slowing down. And like I said, your body or your physical life might feel like it's kind of in this slow down period, but that's very much by design. I feel that for a while, things may have felt a little bit chaotic or a little bit fast paced, or you may have felt busier than usual. Now there is like this slow down period. But this is not because your manifestations are slowing down. I'm actually hearing that saying that we've said before on this channel, that when it comes to manifesting, often you have to slow down in order to speed up, which sounds very counterintuitive, but it's actually very intuitive, because what you are doing is when you slow down, you're tuning in more deeply to yourself. You're leveraging the energy that creates worlds. And when you tap into that leverage, the action that you then apply is 1,000 or even 1,000,000 times more precise, more effective than action alone, like force would be without that underlying alignment that came through allowing yourself to slow down. So can I get any more information? Yeah, because then we have the Sun card. It's like you're slowing down, but then you're triumphing. Then you're like manifesting something huge. And I keep getting something about the months of November and December. So right now it's the month of September. Of course, these readings are timeless, so take them however and whenever they resonate with you. And of course, only take the messages that do resonate for you. But what I'm picking up is that you're allowing yourself to slow down, but it's actually bringing you into the sun. It's actually very conducive to whatever it is that you are creating or manifesting in your life, because it's awakening and keeping you connected with that sacral chakra energy. And you guys will not believe the card that I just pulled here. I just pulled the Lovers. So not only are you stepping into the sun, into this state of fulfillment, of happiness, there's some kind of triumph and celebration here, which again may reach some kind of peak or culmination around November or December, or maybe those months are your birth month or significant to you in some way. But with the Lovers card here, this is about you magnetically attracting in your highest timeline in love, whatever that looks like for you personally. And I'm hearing that you had to reconnect with yourself to find this timeline in love, that it felt very elusive for you. It felt almost like it was being hidden from you. But in truth, it required you to reconnect with yourself. And this is giving me a wave of chills because it's reminding me of a really deep channeling session that I was doing just on my own yesterday. And I uncovered something that I'd completely forgotten about until now, but I had journaled about it. So I was going to make this a separate reading video, but it's coming up here. So let's talk about it. And it's that there is a collective I'm tapping into that has had this experience where they've romantically felt like their highest timeline in love has eluded them, that for whatever reason, it's like been hidden from them or been inaccessible in some way, and they haven't really fully understood why. This would also be for a collective that always had this sense deep down that there were things on this planet that they were meant to do that were outside of traditional boxes, that were outside of the norm. And I'm getting that especially if you are a divine feminine. The significance of this is your feminine ancestors that came before you never had the freedom or the wherewithal or the privilege to be able to even have the choice in this life to choose an unconventional path in love. They were defaulted into certain conventional, like lower vibrational timelines and pathways that they had to stay locked in for the sake of survival. They quite literally could not exit those timelines, even if they wanted to. They couldn't even allow themselves to want more than that current timeline of survival, because they would not be able to survive outside of that timeline. But what I wrote down is you were the one that, well, specifically, I was kind of thinking of Beauty and the Beast when I wrote this, but I thought of that line in the movie where they say like something along the lines of like, this is the girl that was, chosen or that came to break the spell. And I was thinking about how you are the girl or the woman, or the feminine energy doesn't have to be a woman, but the person that your line designated to break the spell. You are the one that they have been waiting for. But the spell is the generational curse that's been passed down through generations, this limiting idea that felt like a reality for so many generations before, that they had to conform to these societal roles and expectations and timelines, regardless of what their soul really wanted to do or create in this world. And they were never able to fully blossom. They lived lives that allowed them to survive, but it kept them like really, if you look at the hierarchy of needs, if you've seen that depiction of the pyramid, they were only ever at that bottom part of the pyramid because they were entirely focused on their own survival. They had to be. They didn't have a choice. But you are the one that incarnated here to change the pattern, because you have the freedom and the resources within you and the wherewithal to be able to make a different choice for yourself. And so if you feel like you've been called to a path that other people don't understand, that doesn't really fit into traditional societal expectations, but it feels so important to you, this unconventional path, know that that's because you were the one that your ancestors chose to break this spell, so to speak, and that you are breaking it through your very existence, in your freedom, in your brave unconventionality, living completely true to yourself. And you are breaking it every single day with every step that you take forward in courage, in faith, in love. And it is an absolutely magnificent pathway that you are walking, even if it doesn't always feel easy. And what I'm getting is, and really what I've been trying to get at, even though I've been kind of on a soapbox here, is you had to unlock something within yourself in order to access your highest timeline in love. And I'm actually getting that every romantic experience or encounter you've had up until this point, for this specific collective I'm speaking to here, has been actually pointing you back to a part of yourself. And now it's all clicking into place. Because what I'm getting is that often, and again, this won't be for everyone, I'm getting very specific. I'm surprised this is coming out here, because I was going to save this for a separate reading, and we may still continue on in a separate reading sometime into this subject. But what I'm getting is that every romantic person that you've ever been drawn to, attracted to, that you've had a connection with romantically, they were actually carrying this missing piece of yourself, or they were meant to activate part of yourself or point you back to something within yourself that you either had not yet integrated or hadn't been seeing. I'm getting that in some cases, they were all pointing you back to a particular path that you were meant to take, or a particular purpose. So this is going to just be like a random example. But for example, if you're part of this collective that I'm speaking to here, you would have potentially been attracted to different people throughout your life romantically who were all very confident, because they were trying to teach you how to have that confidence within yourself. Or you may have ran into a lot of people in your life who actually maybe controlled or manipulated you, but you were actually meant to see just how powerful you are, that you are stronger than you ever believed yourself to be, that you are meant to be independent and free of control, of manipulation, that you are meant to see through all of that and to be completely strong and whole and complete within yourself. If you attracted or felt attracted to a lot of people who, for example, were very successful at something that they were doing or something they'd created in their life, or a career, whatever this is, but maybe in the past you felt like you lacked some of that sense of success or fulfillment, they were pointing you to that path where you were destined to have these huge levels of success or fulfillment doing something in your own life. If you were attracted or drawn to people who, let's say, were doing something they were really passionate about, or maybe they were like musicians or artists or, did something creative, you were drawn to them because you were actually drawn to the part of yourself internally that wanted to be an artist or a musician or wanted to create and share yourself with the world in that way that you may have been suppressing. And so what I'm getting, and this is so, again, very specific, but for this collective, you can look back on your love life and see the people that you've connected with or felt attracted to romantically were all pointing you back to yourself. We're pointing you back to something within yourself. But the thing is, now you've unlocked it. Now you've taken the first steps down that pathway that they were trying to show you all along, or that those experiences were meant to show you. And now that you're walking that pathway, like now that you've integrated whatever it was that has now unlocked access to your highest timeline in love that felt completely inaccessible to you in the past. Because it's almost like what I feel your guide saying is, okay, he or she is ready now. Like they are ready now for this highest love to come into their life, because they're done meeting like teachers and lessons in love, and they're ready to meet their sacred companion. They're ready to meet or to connect with the person who is truly able to meet them on their level and support them in their mission and purpose here on earth. So I don't know who this reading is for. I know this has gotten kind of like very specific, more so than I usually do in collective readings, but this really wanted to come through for someone. Like I said, I do feel we will be channeling more on this in other readings. So if this connected for you, I would love for you to subscribe to the channel, join our beautiful community here. And if this did resonate, you can continue on with me to Patreon or YouTube memberships, because there will be an extended version of this reading. So we'll be diving deeper into the messages and continuing this channeling there. And the link to listen to the extended for this reading is in the pinned comment and description box underneath this video. But otherwise, I'm going to go ahead and close things out there. Thank you so much to all of you who are here, who are continuing to co-create with me on YouTube. And I love you all so much. I hope you have an amazing remainder of your day and week. Happy Friday. I hope you have just the most amazing weekend. I would love to know your weekend plans if you have any. Hopefully you are doing something to support or care for or nourish yourself. But anyway, as always, I will be back on here to talk with you again on Monday.